In a royal world where appearances speak louder than press releases, and timing is everything, one recent outing has sent ripples through the carefully managed narrative of the British monarchy. On the surface, it was a charming springtime engagement, a cause close to the royal heart, a beloved garden, and familiar faces. But for those who understand the language of protocol and symbolism, what unfolded at Kew Gardens was anything but ordinary. It was, in fact, a quietly staged masterstroke. Because walking alongside King Charles III and Queen Camilla, dressed in a vibrant red that no camera could ignore, was none other than Princess Beatrice of York, a royal figure whose presence at such a high-profile event has sparked whispers behind palace walls and speculation far beyond. This was the Wonders of the Wild event, hosted by the Elephant Family, a conservation charity originally founded by Mark Shand, the late brother of Queen Camilla. The charity's mission, to protect endangered Asian elephants and their habitats, is deeply personal to Her Majesty, and has long enjoyed the patronage of both the King and Queen. Their attendance, gracious and expected, reaffirmed their enduring commitment to environmental stewardship, a cause that, for King Charles in particular, has been a lifelong crusade. But it was Princess Beatrice's appearance that elevated this event from routine royal duty to compelling theatre. For a royal who holds no formal working status within the firm, whose father remains shrouded in controversy, and whose public engagements are rare and carefully selected, standing shoulder to shoulder with the monarch and consort was not merely symbolic, it was seismic. Wearing red in a sea of pastels and earth tones was no accident. It was a statement. Bold. Defiant, even. In a family where the unspoken can weigh heavier than any speech, Beatrice's entrance was its own kind of proclamation, that she is not to be overlooked, not to be dismissed, and certainly not to be brushed aside by the sins or scandals of others. And there was more, a deeper, more personal layer of meaning that made her presence at Kew so compelling. Because this outing came mere days after the release of a podcast episode that featured Princess Beatrice and her younger sister, Princess Eugenie, paying a heartfelt, at times emotional tribute to their mother, Sarah, Duchess of York. The podcast, entitled Lessons from Our Mothers, was tender, intimate, and profoundly revealing. The sisters spoke lovingly of their upbringing, their mother's unwavering strength, and the lessons she imparted. And yet, amid all the warmth and reverence, there was a silence so loud it thundered beneath every word. Prince Andrew was never mentioned. Not once. Not in passing. Not even subtly. For a conversation explicitly themed around parental influence, his absence was glaring. And it wasn't lost on anyone. Not on commentators. Not on the public. And certainly not within the walls of Buckingham Palace. Was it an omission born of pain? A protective gesture? Or something more calculated, a strategic move by two women who understand all too well that silence can be as powerful as speech? In the aftermath, many concluded that it was a deliberate distancing. A subtle yet unmistakable line drawn between the past and the future. Between scandal and survival. Between the father they love and the reputations they must now protect. And then came Kew. For Princess Beatrice to appear publicly, not just at any event, but at one so intimately tied to Queen Camilla's late brother, and to do so under the direct gaze of the King and Queen, is no minor detail. In the royal family, where invitations are rarely spontaneous and appearances are choreographed with the precision of military parades, this outing was not just about conservation. It was about positioning. To understand the gravity of this, one must consider how rare such a moment truly is. Beatrice is not a senior working royal. She holds no official patronages issued by the palace. Her role is undefined, her path often overshadowed by the headlines surrounding her father, Prince Andrew, and the structured visibility of the Waleses. And yet here she was, prominently featured, warmly received, and by all appearances, fully embraced by the highest tier of the monarchy. So what changed? Some believe this is a carefully crafted re-entry. A quiet test balloon floated by the palace to see how the public reacts to Beatrice's visibility, particularly when disconnected from her father's embattled legacy. Others see the guiding hand of Queen Camilla, a woman who understands public redemption better than most. Camilla, once the most vilified woman in Britain, now occupies the throne as consort, steady and unflinching. If anyone knows how to reshape narrative through presence and persistence, it is she. And perhaps, in Princess Beatrice, she sees not only a niece by marriage, but a kindred spirit, a woman of strength overshadowed by circumstance, looking for her rightful place in a changing institution. What makes this all the more fascinating is the way it intersects with the monarchy's own evolution. King Charles has made it clear, the royal family will be slimmed down, its core redefined. Yet, the public appetite for broader royal participation remains. Figures like Beatrice and Eugenie, modern, educated, empathetic, have found a quiet popularity among a generation that feels increasingly disconnected from the stiff traditions of old. Their ability to relate, to show vulnerability, to speak from the heart rather than the script, has earned them a unique space in the royal ecosystem. And so, when Beatrice stood at Kew Gardens, listening intently to conservationists, laughing softly with Queen Camilla, and posing for photographs with King Charles, she was doing more than attending a charity event. She was participating in the slow, deliberate restoration of her own public image, an image severed, however unfairly, by her father's downfall, but perhaps now being reclaimed with the approval of the monarch himself. The Big Egg Hunt, the public art initiative linked to the elephant family, provided an ideal vehicle for this re-emergence. Whimsical yet meaningful, artistic yet accessible, it allowed Beatrice to engage with a creative cause, interact with the public, and align herself with a legacy rooted in compassion and conservation, not controversy. It allowed her to be seen as herself, not simply as Prince Andrew's daughter. But let's not forget, timing is everything. This event, this reappearance, this red dress, came just as public conversation was shifting back to the York family. The podcast had reignited interest. The omission of Andrew had provoked debate. Questions were swirling. And into that moment stepped Beatrice, not with a press statement, not with a formal interview, but with presence. With optics. With grace. It's a move straight out of the royal playbook. Let the pictures say what the press must not. Let the symbolism do the speaking. And let the public draw their own conclusions. Already, the speculation is growing. Will Princess Beatrice take on more visible roles in the months ahead? Will we see her at garden parties, state events, or charitable galas? Is this the beginning of a soft integration into a reimagined royal model, one that blends tradition with relatability, formality with authenticity? No one can say for sure. But one thing is certain, Beatrice has re-entered the royal spotlight not with fanfare, but with finesse. She did not speak, but she was heard. She did not lead, but she was followed. And in the silent world of royal gestures, that speaks volumes. In a monarchy that relies so heavily on continuity, appearances like this one carry immense weight. They send signals, to the public, to the press, to the family itself. And for Princess Beatrice, whose path has never been linear, whose place has always been slightly to the side, this may very well mark a new beginning. Not a return to full-time royal duty, but a reinvention. A role shaped on her own terms, in her own way, and, crucially, without the shadow of her father's name casting her into silence. So, what do you think? Was her appearance at Kew Gardens merely a coincidence, or a calculated chapter in a carefully orchestrated return? Was her omission of Prince Andrew in the podcast an act of quiet rebellion, or quiet survival? In the House of Windsor, nothing is ever said lightly. And nothing is ever truly accidental. We invite you to share your thoughts in the comments. If you found this royal deep dive thought-provoking, please give this video a like, Subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so you don't miss the next unraveling of monarchy, mystery, and power. Because in the royal family, what seems serene on the surface is often just the beginning of the storm.